What's up, big baller shot callers? This is Big Ken. Welcome from the Grid to the Rim Sports Talk Show. I'm joined by my best friend Monte Brown. Our two other co-hosts can't make it tonight. Dwayne is in El Paso, Texas, and Jack is going to his sister's wedding in Missouri. So congratulations to Jack's sister for getting married, and Dwayne, have fun in our old stomping grounds, El Paso, Texas, where everything started for us.
Yes, sir.
All
Congrats,
right.
Jack, to your sister. And Dwayne, I'll see you in a couple of days. I'll be there
Nice.
too.
I figured you were going there, Monty. That's awesome.
Yep.
All right, man. The NBA Finals is here, folks. Oh man, the Eastern and Western Conference Finals was crazy. It looked like both teams were going to get swept. The Lakers did get swept, unfortunately. 4-0, but Boston made a game out of it. They
Yeah.
won 3 games in a row and pushed it to a game 7. So things got interesting with the Miami Boston series. Miami is only the second 8 seed to ever make the NBA Finals. The first one was the New York Knicks in 1999 with the shortened season with the lockout. I believe they played like about 50 games that year, but they lost to number 1 seed San Antonio Spurs.
Mhm.
And the Spurs were loaded that year. They had Tim Duncan, David Robinson, all kinds of people, all the old greats from San Antonio was on that team. I mean, and they had Greg Popovich. I mean, they were great. So this is Miami's chance. Can Miami do it? That's the big question. Will Miami make history? All right. Open up about the Miami Boston series since we're talking about that. I was surprised in game 2. When Miami won game 1, I was like, yeah, whatever. Boston probably win game 2. But when Miami won game 2, that surprised me. I thought the series was over, but like I said in the opening, Boston came storming back. But game 2 really surprised me because they lost both games at home. And yeah, if it was the other way around, like where they lost the 2 first road games and they had to play their home
Mhm.
games for 3 and 4, I thought Boston, would have a chance. But it really shocked me that Boston lost their first 2 home games. And then, in game 3, Miami just destroyed them. It looked like Boston just quit and they got up 3-0. Then all of a sudden Miami fell apart a little bit. Jimmy Buckets wasn't doing so good. Bam wasn't scoring anymore. I mean, Lowry off the bench wasn't doing his thing that he was doing the first couple games. Yeah, then Boston started coming back. Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown and those guys started getting it going. And yeah, they forced the game 7. Going back to game 2 on that whole thing with Grant Williams and Jimmy Buckets, I thought that was a big mistake. Because in game 2, actually in both games, Boston had leads in the second half, like 8, 9, 10-point leads, and they lost both those leads to lose both those games. And they're up 9 or 10 points when Grant Williams got in Jimmy Buckets' face, and that motivated Jimmy Buckets, and they went on this like 24-9 scoring run the rest of the game, and they won game 2. I couldn't believe Grant Williams did that. I was like, that's not the guy you do this to,
Wrong
man.
person. Yeah.
For those who don't know Jimmy Buckets' story, he was homeless at 13 years old. His mom kicked him out of the house. She said she doesn't like the look of him. I think they've reconciled their relationship years later, but he was homeless for a little while, and one of his teammates' families that he was playing on the basketball team with took him in and raised him the rest of the way through high school. So that was Jimmy Buckets has a crazy story for those who don't know it, and yeah, that's why I think he was the wrong guy to get in someone's face. With everything he's been through, I think he's used to adversity, and I think that just motivates him. I don't think anything's going to get him.
Yeah.
I don't think anything's too big for him.
He's the
So
kind of man that feeds off things like that.
yeah,
You'll make him mad in a sense, but it won't throw him off his game. It'll just make him better.
yeah, it has motivated him. Game 7, me and Monty both thought Boston was going to run away with this game because we thought Miami had to win game 6 in Miami at home, and they had that crazy. Jimmy Butler played horrible that game, but as bad as he played, he came alive in the fourth quarter and he hit 3 clutch free throws in a row to give him a 1-point lead. With 2 seconds left, and I thought that was the series, and but Boston had a timeout, so that helped out tremendously. They're able to advance it past half court, not going the full distance, and that was smart. They had one, and they, I Marcus Smart took a pretty good shot. I thought it was going in. His shot
Yeah,
looked pretty
it was
good.
a good look.
But Derek, I think his name's Derek White. Had that tip in, and at
Yes.
first no one knew if he beat the buzzer or not. Beat the light. But then after everyone's watching the replay, you see that he clearly beat it. I'm like, oh my god, now there's a game 7. In game 7, Boston just did not show up. I mean, they stayed in the game most of the way, but they're always, they got off to a fast start like the first 2 or 3 minutes of the game. I thought they could run away with it like we thought, but then Miami woke up, and then the rest of the way, Miami just kind of took control. Jimmy Buckets played a lot better, and the story of that series, before I forget to mention, is actually his counterpart, Caleb Martin. I know Jimmy Buckets got the Eastern Conference Finals MVP, and he's a great player, and I love Jimmy Buckets. But I felt Caleb Martin should have got that. I think he kept those guys going when Jimmy Buckets and Bam and some of those guys were struggling, and all the role players from Miami played great. Of course,
Yes.
Caleb Martin was the best one. Duncan Robinson had big moments. Kyle Lowry, Vincent, Struss. I mean, their whole team. And the crazy thing is, all these guys are undrafted. Most of these guys were undrafted. That's the crazy thing about Miami is they did this being undrafted. So, and Miami Boston took way too many threes in that last game. I was like, they are taking way too many threes. They're selling for 3-pointers, and they went 9 out of 47 from the 3-point line. And Miami was scoring in multiple ways. They were passing inside. They were hitting mid-range jump shots. They were hitting threes, but they were good threes. And that's the thing. That's kind of like what we talked about in our first round show, Monte. How I thought, sometimes the NBA is taking too many 3-point shots. Like I felt that way about Boston in Game 7. They're taking way too many 3-point shots. But I don't know what you got on this, Monte. But that was kind of my that's my analysis on the Boston Miami series.
Yeah. Boy, this is a series that it seems like I have a different prediction every 3 games, every 2 games, because momentum switched this way, then it would switch that way. Man, I've never seen anything like it. On paper, Miami should have won this series, but no, I'm sorry, Boston should have won this series. Boston should have won this series on paper, but you have a leader like Jimmy Buckets. When they were getting the trophy, there was somebody behind him. I'm not sure who it was, but they yelled, "Hey, lead us! We want you to lead us." That's if you want a definition of a leader, that's Jimmy Buckets is a leader.
Absolutely.
On his back, and hey, I'll take you guys to where we need to go. Let's go. He said it last year. We're going to be back. We'll be back in this position last year after Boston knocked him out. He spoke into existence. And look, 8th seed, we just might see an 8th seed win the championship, but we'll get to that later. This series, man, I thought the series was over once it went to Miami in Game 7. I thought there was no way they were going to lose at home. And Boston played their hearts out. That talent, that bench, that team's a lot deeper. And they ended up winning the game. That tip in at the end of the game, that's a play that will usually just the team on the other side of that, they usually don't come back from that. And like you mentioned before, we talked about it. There was no way that Miami was going to go into Boston on the parquet floor, one of the toughest places to win in the NBA, and win a Game 7. And they pulled it off, like I talked about, like you talked about. The role players still came back, got behind Jimmy, and they all played. They all played and ended up winning the game. And never seen anything like it. That was good. That was good. I just, as you can see, I'm at a loss for words because it's not what I expected. Yeah, I wanted Miami to win by, because I'm not a Boston fan, but I do like how they play. They're a talented team. One thing that stuck with me that I heard Charles Barkley talk about, and you kind of touched on it a little bit, Ken. In the NBA, you cannot win by just talent alone. And that looked a lot like what Boston tried to do. They pretty much said, we are a more talented team than Miami, and they are. Boston is a more talented team, but maybe not a better team. They seem like they just went out there thinking they could just win on talent alone. Miami went out there, they ran the offense, they passed the ball, ended up blowing them out. And I think that's been Boston's problem from the get-go. They need to run more of an offense instead of depending on their talent. And when Barkley said that, I didn't look at it that way, but yeah, he's right. He's right. They can't win on just talent alone. They have to have a little bit of structure. And it looks like they just went out there and tried to win that game on their talent. And Miami stuck with what got them there. And that's how they ended up winning that game. So they're in the finals. We just might see an 8 seed pull it off and play the Nuggets. The Nuggets. Speaking of the Denver Nuggets, they put it on my Lakers. I have to give credit where it's due. That's a doggone good team. Jokic, I mean, we all know how good he is. I mean, he has that weird shot that he throws behind his head that goes in every time. And Murray led them through that series. Their bench is awesome. I mean, they're deep. They're deep. Every time the Lakers would go up on a run, 15 points, up 20 points, 12 points, Denver would find a way to come back. And that's how they made it into the championship. I mean, LA did what they could. AD pulled his every other game type showing up deal, which kind of upset me a little bit.
Yeah.
They needed him every game where he scored 40 points one game, and he has the ability to do that every time. LeBron tried to take that game 7 on his shoulders, but it just wasn't enough. He couldn't do it all. That's a 38-year-old man that's in better shape than anybody I've seen at 38 years old, but he can't beat 5 people. I mean, he's going to need some help. I mean, he tried. I mean, and yeah, he takes his licks. We tend to get on him at times, but he couldn't have done any better. The man almost had triple double.
Yeah.
So that Denver's just too good of a team. Too good of a team for Lakers. Maybe the Lakers are one player away to match up with that team. But yeah, after that second game, I was like, man, this team, LA's going to have some trouble. They're in trouble. That Jokic is too good. They really don't have a matchup. I mean, they can't have AD on him. That'll take away from his offense. Hachimura did a good job on him, the best they could, but he had the quietest 25, 30 points that he can get. He gets his points, but he gets them quietly. You just don't notice. Because you got all these other role players doing all that. Next thing you know, Jokic has 25 points. You're like, how did he do that?
Yeah.
But man, we have maybe a lot of people had Denver going to the finals. I don't know who had Miami, but this is a very unlikely final matchup. I think it's going to be a very interesting finals matchup. Hopefully, it gets ratings. I don't know how many people in the rest of the country want to see Denver. I want to see Denver. I want to see him play. I mean, I want this to be a good ratings top final where everybody's watching. Well, hopefully, we see a 7-game final. I don't know what your prediction is on it, but I think it's going to be a good one. What do you think?
Yeah, the Lakers and Denver series. Yeah, the Lakers were in every game with the exception of game 1. Well, they made game 1 close, but they got down big and they came fighting back in the second half. Game 2, they had a chance in the fourth quarter and they kind of blew it in the fourth quarter. Games 2 and 3 actually. So I watched those games and they had leads and they just kind of screwed it up, especially this game 2 when they really needed to tie the series.
Mm-hmm.
But unfortunately it didn't work out. But luckily for them, like I said about the last series, Boston losing at home. At least the Lakers lost on the road and they had two home games, games 3 and 4, but they had to win both those games. And unfortunately, they didn't. They got swept. The one thing I noticed about Denver is they really pushed the ball. Like they got the ball up the court really fast, and they're shooting shots really quickly, and they're good quality shots. And like you mentioned, Monte, Joker and Jamal Murray went off. Jamal Murray had like 30 points in one half, I think, I think it was in game 3. And he didn't do much in the second. They locked him down in second, but he did his damage in the first half of that game with 30 points. He had a good overall series. But yeah, role player stepped up for Denver. And I was mentioning that on our last show with me and Dwayne, X Factor. Yeah, the X Factor showed up. Caldwell Pope showed up and Michael Porter Jr. They both played well, with the addition to, of course, their two best players, Jamal Murray and the Joker. So I thought that was a big difference in the series. Was like they had really nice third and fourth scoring with Michael Porter Jr. and Caldwell Pope, who was a former Laker. Maybe he
Oh
took,
yes.
maybe he was like real. Maybe he wanted to show them something.
Oh, I'm sure he was motivated.
Yeah, he was
Yes.
motivated. He had some really good games, and
Yes.
it just seemed like, yeah, as good as the Lakers defense was the first two rounds, it seems like their defense wasn't as good against Denver. Like I said, Denver really pushed the ball. That was my
Yeah.
big takeaway. You know, then in game four, when the Lakers were down by 1 point with like a couple seconds, some people, I mean, LeBron James never got a shot off. Some people think he dribbled into trouble and probably should have pulled up for a mid-range jumper, but coulda, shoulda, would have, man. You never know what we
Yeah.
would do in that situation. I guess he thought maybe he can get to the hole or he would get fouled, but he ended up like losing the ball. He never got a
Yeah.
shot off, and
No, they're not
yeah,
going to
but
call a foul in that situation.
yeah. Some people think he made the wrong decision. It's good
Yeah.
he had the ball in his hands because he's their guy, but
Yeah.
he should have probably pulled up for like a mid range shot
Yeah.
because he got kind of contested with like two or three guys around him right in the corner, and yeah, that was the end of the game. So yeah, he just made a bad choice, but not taking anything away from LeBron James, I still think he's making his legacy. He took a 7 seed to the conference finals. It's too
Right.
bad they
Oh
got
yeah.
swept, but like I said, some people are on LeBron James, and like I said, I'm more of a Michael Jordan guy, but I do have my utmost respect for LeBron James and what he's done for this game. I mean, he took a 7 seed to the conference finals, and like they just played against a better team.
Oh, yeah.
Denver was a legit number one seed this year. In the
Yeah.
years past, they weren't. They always kind of got upset early, but this year, like we mentioned before, they had something to prove. So Denver was just a better team.
Mhm.
Um,
Yes.
as far as the finals is coming on here pretty shortly, actually tonight. I want to see a good series like you. I don't know how to think about the series, but one thing I know is you can never count Miami out. Obviously Denver is very hungry to get their first NBA championship in their for their organization, and Jimmy hasn't gotten one yet either. Of course, Miami has some championships, but not with Jimmy Butler
Right.
company. So obviously he's motivated too. We talked about his motivation. He doesn't need any extra motivation. So I could be completely wrong, and maybe Miami will play horribly, and I'm taking a leap of faith. But I think Miami's going to do it, man. Nothing is if Denver does it, great. I won't be surprised because Denver's very good, and they are number one seed, like I mentioned. But I don't know, man. I want to see history. I'm gonna put myself out on a limb, and I think Miami's gonna get it done in 6 or 7 games. It might go to 7 again. So yeah, I think Miami's gonna. I think somehow, man, with that team and Eric Spoelstra, their coach, I think they're gonna do it, man. That's my prediction.
Boy, yeah. I told you the other day. I think I told a lot of people the other day. I'm not down Miami anymore. I'm just not. I'm just not. Uh, Miami's not going to win tonight. They need to. They're going to have a trouble with this altitude, as we hear people talk about that go there. The altitude situation is a real thing. It's they're going to need a game to get through that. Denver's going to run the depth and might give them some trouble. I don't expect them to win this game tonight. I do expect them to split in Denver. Um, Miami has some people who's won championships. Kevin Love has won the championship. Kyle Lowry's won the championship when he was with Toronto. Jimmy's been to a championship. Tyler Hero might be back game 3.
That's right.
So they have a shot. They have some people who's been there. So I'm picking them to win this game in 6 in Miami, this series in 6 in Miami. But man, you can't count Joker and Murray out. I mean, on paper they should sweep this series. They're
Yeah, on
that
paper,
much,
absolutely. On paper, they
yeah,
should.
they're that much better than Miami. But man, Miami's overcome so much to get there, and at this point, you're no longer an eighth seed. You're a
Yeah.
championship caliber team. So I can't pick against them anymore. Not after that. Not after going to Boston on a game 7 where hardly anybody ever beats them. And you look back in history, they don't lose at home, especially in the game 7. And that convinced me right there. I was like, that's the last time I'm going to pick against Miami. So yeah, I'm going with Miami in 6.
Okay. Yeah. So we both got Miami. We'll have to ask our co-hosts what they think later on, but we'll do another show. Obviously, this is our NBA final show before Game 1. Or Game 1's actually come on any second. So, but it's before the tip-off, and but we'll be back on.
Yes.
After the finals is over with, them, we'll talk about what happened in the finals, and me and Monte will see if we're right. I got a couple of questions before I let you guys go. For our viewers and subscribers, everything, who do you guys think is going to win the finals? Do you think Miami has a chance? Another question I got for our viewers and subscribers is, what do you think is going to happen with Jaylen Brown in Boston? Is he going to be gone next year? That's already big talk that he's going to be
Ooh,
out of
good question.
Boston.
Yes.
So so I want to hear about that, but yeah, Jaylen Brown's situation is very interesting. Jason Tatum has some time left on his contract, but Jaylen Brown is up on his contract, and yeah, a lot of people are saying that they may not have the Jason Tatum Jaylen Brown show anymore. He might be playing somewhere else next year. So we'll see what happens during the off season, man. But let us know your predictions, and yeah, we'll see you guys, I guess, in a week or two. You got anything else, Monty?
No, yes, let us know what you think out there. Like, subscribe our channel, please. Appreciate your support. And we're looking forward to hearing from all of you.
All right, man. Take care. Hopefully we have a good Game 1. All right.
Yes.
Talk to
All right.
you guys later.